Hello, this is Dr. Harrison Jones IV, author of I Used to Hate School, 5 Proven Principles for Success in Education. And I wanted to get on today and understand, I've heard this so many times over my years in education as a principal, even as a math teacher. You're about to give a test, STAR test is coming up, those high stakes testing, and the students will tell you, I don't want to take this test. 9 times out of 10, it might be just because they haven't studied yet, but here are the top 3 ways to make sure that your students are prepared for the test and reducing test anxiety, which a lot of us have. First thing is, ask them what they're so afraid of. A lot of times, students are afraid of taking a test just because they heard from one of their friends that that test was really hard. Or they heard from somebody else last semester that your class was hard and we don't need to take this test and we're going to fail and all those things. But what you want to do is figure out where they're coming from, accept their fear, and you want to be sort of relate to their fear. You want to let them know that you understand where their fear is coming from and change their fear and change their perspective of that fear. Understand that your student might have some false perception of what the test is going to be like in your class, so provide them with what it's actually going to be like. Say, it's not going to be as scary. Your friend might have had a different experience, but this time you're going to have a better experience when you're in my class. Another thing to do to help reduce test anxiety for your students is to put things in perspective. Put it in perspective. Do not say this to your students. It's not the end of the world. It is the end of the world for your students. If they do not pass this test, they're going to be devastated. So you need to understand that the perspective you need to provide for them when they're taking this test is not, oh, it's not the end of the world. Understand that the test is important, but reassure them that you will not neglect the material they need to understand after they take this test. That you want to make sure that they understand what is expected of them. You understand that the content is going to be learned whether they do well on the test or not. That you want them to learn the content. Focus on the learning and not the test. That will absolutely help them in reducing the anxiety. A lot of times we put high stakes testing for our students and we just tell them, oh, if you don't pass this, you're not going to go to the next grade. Well, that's never really true. So stop putting that into our students' heads. Let them know that it's not the end of the world and that they're going to have opportunities to do it again and to do it again, and that you're going to help them to pass the test at the end of the day. And then you want to stay positive. Stay positive. Make sure you keep telling them, this is the way things are going to go. You got this. I watched what you were able to do. Tell them what they can do and not focusing on what they cannot do. Focus on what they have already accomplished. Give them examples of past tests or previous quizzes or things that they did well on that they may be able to utilize that sort of confidence to utilize on their next test. So make sure that you're putting those things into perspective for them. Stay positive and understand their fear. Understand where they're coming from, because at any rate, high stakes testing is something that is always going to be in education. But as an educator, we need to make sure that we remind our students that it's not the end of the world, but it's also an opportunity for them to continue to learn and to grow in your classroom. This is Dr. Harrison Jones IV signing off. I hope that you have a great and beautiful Take the Challenge Tuesday, because you simply deserve it.